There's a Jewish historian named Yuval Noah Harari, who's also a die-hard Darwinist, who says this about the goal of transhumanism. Having reduced mortality from starvation, disease, and violence, we will now aim to overcome old age and even death itself. Having saved people from abject misery, we will now aim to make them positively happy. And having raised humanity above the beastly level of survival struggles, we will now aim to upgrade humans into gods and turn Homo sapiens into Homo Deus. Homo Deus, the God-man. That is the promise of transhumanism. But this reminds us of one lie once uttered by a serpent in a garden to deceive the image bearers of God. The Imago Day, he said, "Eat of the fruit, and ye shall be as gods." And to some degree, it was true, but it was a half-truth, and the bargain was not worth it. Humanity did become as gods, deciding what's good and evil for themselves, but humanity also died and was separated from God in whose image they were made. That's why Jesus, the God who became man, had to come to us and restore the divinity within us, because he was the perfect image of God. He was who Adam failed to be. And he died and rose again so that even though Adam's sin killed all the rest of us, his righteousness will resurrect us from the dead. All this happened 2,000 years ago. Isn't it suspicious that now, more than 2,000 years later, people are saying human beings can become gods who never die through AI, like some sort of counterfeit messianic agenda? Christ was the God who became man to enable man to become gods, however you define that. Why is this transhumanist movement suddenly inverting that like they're preaching a different gospel? It's all suspicious. It's suspicious to the bones. Finally, let's end here with a quote from the famous Oxford philosopher and mathematician John Lennox, who says this: "People come to me with their transhumanist agenda and say, we're going to solve the problem of death and we're going to increase human happiness. And I look at them and I smile and I say, you're too late. And they say, what? We haven't got there yet. I said, you're too late. The problem of physical death was solved when God raised Christ from the dead 20 centuries ago. And as for human happiness and uploading us into eternity, I'm waiting for the biggest uploading that's ever going to happen in history, when Christ returns and raises me from the dead, because that is precisely what he promises. Man thinks he can become God, but infinitely greater than that is the fact that God thought of becoming human." John Lennox calls transhumanism a parody. It's the great satanic parody of the gospel. It's funny, but it's also comforting.